Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting?
Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Need that. Need that.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It is Thursday night, October 13th, 7:09 p.m. My name is Jake Luke, and I'm joined on my screen by Zeech Batman. Really getting into it with the facial hair there, I can see.
Yeah, it's got to go soon, honestly. My goal was, I was like, you know what? I'll let it grow out through October, and then no shave November will hit, and nobody can fault me for having a patchy beard in November. Because I've never really tried to give it a go. But you know what? I'm giving this a full, 2-3 months of full growth and seeing where it goes. And if it doesn't go anywhere, it's going to be nada. Back to babyface.
Nice. Well, excited for you and your facial hair journey. I feel like this is a big step for you.
The mustache is fun. I got to admit, I find myself doing this all the time. This is just fun.
The mustache is it's an interesting look. I've been kind of rocking that the last couple months here. I think I'm going to make the transition back to beard status, especially as the weather gets a little bit
Bearded Jake was elite. Jake was elite.
I think that's my favorite kind of character build of myself when you're scrolling through the characters in a video game. Like the one with the beard is the one that I'm going to default to every time, but it's nice to mix it up every now and then. It's nice to get a good mustache in the mix.
You gotta have a couple personalities you can sift through.
Yeah, you do. I need something to base my identity around every couple of months. And if you can't appreciate a good mustache, I think you take yourself a little too seriously.
Absolutely, man.
How's everything going?
It's going good. Happy to be recording in an actual building instead of in my car. Other than that, just putting in long hours late at night and doing a bunch of film. Getting a lot of people angry on Twitter recently.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked, you were it was the wee hours of the night down there in South Carolina. You were in your car recording for us in the middle of a hurricane, doing what? EMT or EMS work, whatever it's called. You're addicted to the grind.
On the grind. Got a young body. Got to use it while I can.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. So, I guess you alluded to it a little bit. You were riling people up on Twitter. I guess we can talk a little bit about that. We can talk a little bit about recent happenings in Ravens Nation. What's been the experience like on the old Twitter sphere for you lately?
Ravens Twitter is in full swing right now. Right after a win, Ravens Twitter is great. I don't think there's a really much more fun place to be than Ravens Twitter after a win, especially that win after that Bengals where it was just a giant sigh of relief for everybody. I need to apologize right now. That Friday and onward up until the Bengals game, I was probably the most depressing person I've ever been on Twitter. I could see no way the Ravens won. I was totally in my feelings, in my head. Depressing season holiday hour boys, sad hours, just all weekend.
Yeah, dude, I was with you. I predicted them to win. We didn't manage to get our preview pod out actually. And so I predicted them to win on Twitter, I think 30-29. But dude, I was telling people walking into the stadium, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to get this done. I was under the impression that Peters wasn't going to play at the time, but I was like,
that was my biggest thing is without Peters, how are they going to, and I feel like I'm right. If Peters hadn't played, considering how big of an impact he had on that game, I don't think they would have won. I think he as one player makes the biggest difference in that game.
Yeah, you could argue he was the difference there. And my God, watching him play is just the most fun thing in the world. So that's good. It's great having him back for a lot of different reasons. And yeah, man, I think you're right. I think he proved to be the difference in that game. With not only the plays that he was making, but his attitude as well, just doing his John Lennon kind of high step after stopping that, complete mockery of an attempt at a Philly special. It was an all timer.
I think most people that probably listen to this probably know the swing I'm talking about. There's an Adley swing from late in the season. I think it's a homer against the Red Sox. And there's an angle of him basically from the opposite batter's box of this uppercut. And I watched that swing. This celebration by Marcus Peters is this. I've watched the flailing limb body parts. Jonas made the inflatable
wacky arm.
Yeah. And that it's perfect. But I just watched him flail around like 50 times. It's such a good celebration.
He's a very limmy player, isn't he? He's very, very live.
Just like, I don't know. It's really
No
weird.
legs and like that whole situation. He's a character to himself.
He is the best. I was saying it before. Like they needed to hand him an extension during halftime of that game.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Really kind of shows you what you need to know about what he brings to that defense, because when he's not on the field, things have looked dicey at times. When his running mate over there is not on the field, things look really dicey. So they are very blessed to have those two guys back on the field.
I understood people were like hesitant, like, let's not give him an extension during the summer quick. He's still come. There's no excuse anymore. Like you've seen him, he's back from the injury. He's performing as good as he has been. I think I saw that he was the only player so far that has a fumble recovery, a forced fumble, an interception, and a sack right now. Like he makes plays. You need to extend him another 2-3 years.
Yeah, I'm into it. And that could, potentially be the last big extension that he could get in his career. So maybe he'll be taking his time on when he's going to want to sign that or anything like that. But, he's coming off the injury. He seemed to like it here more than he's liked it anywhere else. So I'm down with just getting it done, freeing up some cap space. I mean, they got another guy that they need to extend to free up some cap space here, as I'm sure we're going to get into. And I guess we can just kind of get into that right now. I mean, there's been a lot of goings on here. I also wasn't on the recap show that Spenny did solo there on Monday, I believe. Actually, we couldn't get it out on Sunday because I was leaving the stadium, got caught up in 695 road work traffic, which they were doing road work at 1 a.m. on 695 right outside the stadium. Just a really awesome job there by everyone involved. So I got home at 1 a.m., just completely capsized into my bed, and that was that. So sorry for not being on that. But yeah, a lot of happening since then, man. Matt Rule out in Carolina. Sounds like a little bit of a fire sale might be forthcoming with these Panthers players. Chief amongst them guys like Ryan Burns, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Ravens, depending on what you believe with some of these accounts out there on Twitter, are a team to watch for some of these players.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise. And I mean, at this point, it's hard not to believe there's going to be a fire sale, and the Ravens got to get in there somewhere. One of these pieces has to be had, even if it's Derek Brown, or you know what, people will hate me for it. I wouldn't hate it if they traded for like a Jeremy Chin. Makes Chuck Clark's going to be leaving. Marcus Williams is going to be out for a little bit, and I like Geno Stone. I like Kyle Hamilton. They'll be able to fill in nicely. But I think Jeremy Chin's on IR right now, but if he's like can be healthy or something, I don't know. I think they need to take advantage of it. But DJ Moore, come back to Maryland, please. I beg you. I miss you.
Yeah, he's the guy for me out of this entire group. I mean, Anderson would be a really nice kind of, I guess you could say, consolation prize, but if I could grab one of them, it would certainly be him. He's got cap hits of 20+ million over the next 3 years, but he is locked down. And man, that's really where it hurts not to have Jack.
And there's maneuverability too. I think I was seeing one of the Ravens cap gurus.
So it's for this year that if they take on a salary, Carolina is eating most of it. So if they make the move, they're really not hurt this year at all. And then I think there is a potential out after this year too. So maybe you could even go and get him for a rental. I don't have all the details right in front of me, but golly, man, I would love to just trade for him and then have him be locked down and be Rashad Bateman's and Duvernay's running mate at this point and just say, hey, we've got 3 guys.
That is a scary trio.
It is. Yeah. Like you talk about like needing run after the catch. Like the Ravens still are not getting a lot of run after the catch. Part of that, and I'm kind of parroting Spencer a little bit here, but part of that is the fact that Lamar does not check it down to running backs very much. But outside of Bateman's run after the catch touchdown against Miami, you really don't have a ton of that this year. You get a little bit of Duvernay as a running back doing some of that stuff, but it's been a lot of feast or famine as far as kind of like depth of target and things like that. So getting a guy like Moore who is super souped up after the catch and like can do that kind of stuff, that would be massive for me. And I wouldn't want it to just be a 1-year rental, man. I really want them to find a way to make this thing happen. Bring him back to the area. He's from Philly originally, but he went to Maryland, so he's a Mid-Atlantic guy. Let's make this thing happen.
I need him back. I need him on this team. That's a really dangerous trio. And then when you add in JK out of the backfield, and he needs to start getting the ball out of the backfield, it's going to be, when we get into the Giants preview, I'm going to touch on Dobbins quite a bit.
Sounds a little flustered as things stand.
I liked the interview that he did today. We can get into that after. I've got a lot to say on JK. I'm very excited for him. But like the trio of again, Rashad, DJ Moore, and Duvernay, who, again, like this came, I put it in my takeaways article after the Bengals game. I didn't say he was, I said he was looking like a wide receiver one every week. He's not a wide receiver one. He's not. And that's nothing against him. He just doesn't have that kind of skill set. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, honestly, but he's not a wide receiver one. I'm not saying he is, but every week he looks more and more impactful and looks better and better. So, and then you add Andrews into that, and if everybody's healthy come playoff time, this is a very serious Super Bowl contender, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they've weathered a little bit of a storm here, honestly. There's been a lot of blustering and puffing chests out about how, they really should be 4-0. What the fuck are they doing sitting at 2-2? It's like, well, they're 3-2 now, and they've got Edwards coming back. They got Bowser coming back. They've got guys coming back in the mix. David Ojabo returning to practice along with Bowser. I mean, it's massive, the amount of guys that they're going to get back and the amount of all-pro or Pro Bowl type talent that is going to be in the mix here. Yeah, DJ Moore or somebody of that ilk into this mix. I mean, you are talking about a Super Bowl contender, I'm comfortable saying, because guess what? They just hung in there with the Buffalo Bills and probably should have beaten them. I'm not really sure if this like AFC is like that super powered or what, but I think they can hang with any of these teams.
I don't think there's really any super powered team this year. Like Buffalo looked that way at first, and they've kind of cooled off a little bit. The Eagles look really good. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The Eagles look really good, but again, they're kind of like a 2019 Ravens team.
And as far as NFC teams go, sorry to cut you off, but as far as NFC teams go for me, it's like I'm kind of just like get to the game and then you see what happens. Like I really only worry about AFC teams as far as like a Super Bowl conversation goes. You know what I mean?
Well, overall in the NFL, I don't think there's a single, again, like I was saying, the Eagles they're a young, high-powered team right now, kind of having fun with it, reminding me a lot of the 2019 Ravens. But the 2019 Ravens, just like this year's Eagles, they're a young team. They don't have a lot of playoff experience, so we'll see what happens when they get there. But for the AFC, there's nobody. Like the Bills no longer scare me. The Chiefs have their up and downs as usual. They would scare me in the fourth quarter, and that's about it.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting prospect, man. And I guess if you've got a lot to say on JK, why don't you just jump right into it?
I'll jump right into it. I liked the interview that he did today in the locker room where he talked about, like, because there was the whole thing with him liking the tweet about him not getting touches and yada, yada. And I had my own opinions on that where I was like, I get it. But also, like, a lot of people were also angry. Like, why is he not getting touches? And you got to remember, this dude, it was ACL, MCL, stuff with his knee, a bunch of other stuff. Like, I mean, it took him 13 months to recover. And remember how the run game looked before he came back. If he, for any reason, goes down and misses time again, Ravens are suddenly without a run game again. Like Justice Hill, we don't know when he's going to get back. Kenyon Drake looked the best he has all season on Sunday, but I wouldn't say he looked great or good. Mike Davis is completely a non-factor. I don't know. He's just been, I don't even know what he's literally only used as a blocker during QB powers for like handoffs to Duvernay. That's it.
He got a carry like randomly late in that game. And it was just like everyone in the stadium just like looked at each other like, what the fuck is Mike Davis doing carrying the ball right now? Like I had nothing against him, but it's like you got Dobbit. Like, what are we doing here?
I was watching a film room. They literally only ever line him up in the backfield, either on play actions when he's pass protecting in the backfield, or he's lined up in shotgun, like to the one side of Lamar, and Duvernay comes into motion from across the field, and he lead blocks for Duvernay on like a QB power read if Lamar doesn't keep the ball and gives it to Duvernay. That's all they use him for.
Yeah, it's a weird situation, and I get why Dobbins is frustrated, but I don't know. Like I hope he doesn't internalize this. I hope he talks it out with Harbaugh and DeCosta or whoever it might be, and they give him the explanation that like, hey man, like I'm a big fresh legs guy. We're gonna need your legs in the last quarter of the season here. And I get that. I think Spenny might have said that he's thinking about that second contract, and I get it. But man, like you can keep your legs even fresher after they've sustained an injury. You know, kind of take this season, ramp yourself up a little bit, have yourself a big year next year. Then you'll go and get paid. I just I think he's a very emotional guy, as we can tell, and I totally get that. He's going to pop off about this kind of stuff as is his want. But I don't know. I hope it's explained to him that there's a bigger picture at play here, and they're doing this for his own benefit, I think.
Watching his locker room interview today after practice, you can tell like he was talking about the fact that he wasn't used at all in the fourth quarter, and like he didn't like he was like wasn't upset about it, and the fact that like Lamar's out there and Lamar's going to get the job done, and he knows that. But he said like it hurt me to not be out there with Lamar helping this team win the fourth quarter. And he's like, right now, if we're winning, I don't care. I get it. Like the team, he said, I'm thankful that the team does care about me and wants to keep me healthy, because I could be on a team where they don't care about me and they don't care about me. They want to use me and they could just run my body down and I only have a 5-year career. But right now it's like patience. Like sometimes I'm getting angry about it. I want my touches, but he's saying like, when they're ready to let me out of the cage, I'm ready to go. And it could be this game. Like, I'm ready to see him. Like, this should be the Saquon Barkley versus J.K. Dobbins game like it was back when they were in college.
Yeah, I mean, and, 5 extra carries per game adds up. I mean, over 5 games, that's 25 carries, which is a full game. I mean, if that's like the logic and rationale, I like it a lot. And, yeah, I do think he could be primed for a big one in this one, which I guess, do we have anything else to discuss before we get into it?
I don't think I have anything from the Bengals game.
Yeah,
this week.
Man,
David Ajabo, like again, we can kind of get on that a little bit more. He said he'd be back in October. Here he is. October 12th, October 13th. He's practicing. He some of the videos are like there's a lot of talk going on. I think he's going to be fine. He's a rookie getting his first NFL practices. Not everything is going to look super smooth or super like timing, like with the way he does his moves right now in practice, but I trust right now.
Trust. For sure. I'm excited to see what happens with him. I think the fact that you're presumably going to have Houston back, I think definitely going to have Tyus back before he comes in. I think that's really going to help. And JPP's looking good too. I think that's really going to help ease him in. Like
JPP looks like a prime pass rusher in the NFL right now. He has found the fountain of youth. Yeah,
for sure. And like that's definitely going to help bring him along. He's not going to like be facing the pressure that maybe at one point we thought he was going to be. And that's a very exciting prospect, man. The fact that he actually is going to be back on that timeline, which I was maybe a little dubious about, already practicing, that is massive. So having those two guys back, also going to be very good. I don't think either of them are really going to play in this one. I think Bowser still has a chance, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see.
And with that, we can go into the Giants game. And I want to start off by saying, I know a lot of people have been interacting with the one tweet I sent out. Very controversial. I said it was a controversial tweet when I tweeted it out. So let's just get that out there. I'm not saying the Ravens should take this. What was my tweet? I said, I'm going to say this controversially. The Ravens should use the Giants game as a measuring stick. First of all, every game should be a measuring stick. But my point was don't rush back guys from injuries like Tyus or Ajabo. The Panthers are having a fire sale. They've got everything you need right now. They've got wide receivers. They've got edge players. They got inside defensive linemen that are to be had. Figure out which position you need to go acquire from them. Don't play Rashad Bateman. Get Prochet and Wallace involved more. See if you need that. If you need to go get DJ Moore and how much you're willing to pay for him. Figure out if you feel like Brian Birds is needed to make this pass rush complete and like lethal. Figure out if maybe the inside defensive line, which they talked about as being a top unit in the league during preseason, figure out if they need a boost and you need to go get a Derek Brown. So I'm not saying they should take this week off, but use this game as a measuring stick. Play a lot of the non-starters. Don't rush the guys back from injury. Go get a win. I'm going to put out my prediction right now. I think they should beat the Giants by 20 points. We'll put it there right now.
Interesting. I'm not as bullish on this game. The Ravens are a 6-point favorite, I guess, starting out on the road in MetLife Stadium with the weird turf that the players have been alluding to. It's an interesting one for me. This Giants team, they remind me of the Buffalo Bills light right now. With what they're doing with Daboll, obviously you have the connection there. They are running Daniel Jones like he's Josh Allen, and they are succeeding doing so in some of these games. I mean, it hasn't looked pretty at times. Their win over the Vikings was the Titans in week 1 was certainly a little bit ugly. but they're just getting it done in some of these games, man. I mean, I know they lose to Cooper Rush and the Cowboys, but they've beaten some good teams themselves. They get it done against the Packers, which I actually predicted they were going to. I mean, I thought they would cover. I didn't know they would outright win, but they go out there and do that. You got Daboll walking off the field, thumping his chest. I mean, I'm not super convinced that them coming back home for a team against for a game against a team that they're going to want to win with that Wink Martindale storyline. I'm not as convinced that this is like a massive win for the Ravens, like you're saying here, but you can present your case.
First off, I do see what you think about the Bills. That you can see that they're using Daniel Jones a lot. Still don't think Daniel Jones is making any special throws. He doesn't threaten you over the top like Josh Allen does as far as like getting the ball down there. They don't have any wide receivers that scare you. The Ravens should be able to get back. They played pretty much all zone against the Bengals. They should be getting back to using a lot of man, using a ton of single high stuff, not really needing to give safety help, which is going to be huge considering you don't need to put pressure on, like with Marcus Williams gone, they can sit in single high or they can sit in two high shells. And you're going to be fine because you're not scared of these wide receivers and you're not scared of Daniel Jones making a throw. The focal point of the Giants offense after watching their Green Bay game, it literally is off of Saquon. I think I tweeted out they ran 59 plays against the Giants. Barkley was handed the ball or targeted 19 times. Danny ran for another 10 times. That's almost literally just under half their plays were either Daniel Jones running the ball or Saquon Barkley getting a look. If you bottle up Saquon, I'm not scared of this offense.
Yeah, and I think he has like 115 total touches, which is like most by far for their offense. And then leading their receiving core is, do you know who it is?
I do not. I haven't looked into that.
It is Richie James. I mean, they've gone out, they signed Kenny Galladay, which was a disaster.
That is looking awful.
You draft Kadarius Toney, I believe, in the first. Sterling Shepard is hurt, but he was a second-round pick, some years ago. And then Slayton, obviously, they kept around. They're just getting nothing out of those guys.
He was their second biggest contributor in the Green Bay game.
He looked good in that game, to his credit. But yeah, I mean, it's Richie James is leading the way for them receiving, who I think was like a bit player on the 49ers last year. So yeah, not really happening with the wide receivers right now. It kind of reminds me of, like I said, Buffalo Bills light, maybe a little Kansas City Chiefs back in the day with Alex Smith when it was just kind of a lot of QB runs, running back dependent, not throwing to wide receivers, that kind of thing. But yeah, there is no Travis Kelce in the middle of the field for them on offense. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, but it does feel like guys are going to have to buckle up their chin straps. Patrick Queen is going to have
to. Oh, yeah, no doubt.
With Saquon Barkley right now. I mean, let's take a look at some of these statistics for them. Where is their offense? So offensive DVOA, it's stilted more towards rush, but they're only the 14th rushing DVOA team right now, 19th passing. Maybe I am a little kind of spooked.
I think because they're 4-1 and because they've had some really good like plays and Saquon's look good, a lot of people are bullish. But like again, you can only play who's on your schedule. But they've beaten Chicago, they've beaten Tennessee, who looks awful. They've beaten who was the other one besides Green Bay? Carolina. Like they're not beating any of these. Like don't get me wrong, Carolina's got a good defense. I think they've got good defensive pieces. The defense might not be being called right with their defensive coordinator, who just also, I believe, got fired with Matt Rule.
Right.
But like none of these teams are teams that if we were going to play them, Ravens fans would be absolutely 100% expecting to win right now.
Yeah, for sure. And
Green Bay just made a ton. Like Green Bay's offense is miserable to watch. I was sitting there watching that all 22 film. And I understand why Aaron Rodgers is doing psychedelics. I'm just going to say that. Like, I get it, dude. I understand. He looks miserable without Devontae Adams. Nobody can hold on to the ball in their receiving core. They're getting their run games, like, can occasionally pop off for a 5+ yard run, but for the most part, it gets bottled up pretty easily. He has nobody to trust outside of himself.
Little continued bit of devil's advocate here. Ravens defense is 14th in total DVOA. They're 10th against the pass, weirdly. I mean, they had all those, they had all their naysayers after those, big plays they let up against Miami and a little bit of a tough start to the season, but they're 10th against the pass, 26th in rushing DVOA against the Saquon Barkley and Jones. That's tough.
They've missed Michael Pierce, and this is a good game for them to get it right. But if you're primarily, in my opinion, if you're primarily focused on Saquon, you're using as many of your resources to bottle him up, and then you're letting Marlon, you're letting Marcus, you're letting Kyle Hamilton, you're letting Geno Stone, you're letting Brandon Stevens, whoever else they want to trot out there at corner, handle these wide receivers, and they should be able to handle every single one of these wide receivers one-on-one. You should be able to, again, not stop, you should be able to contain Saquon Barkley. And if Saquon Barkley beats you, he beats you. Like, if you throw everything at him, what are you going to do? But don't let Saquon run free because you're too worried about Daniel Jones making a special throw or because of anything else. Like,
I'm also, another thing I'm not worried about is him making a special throw. I'm worried, and like this goes back to the Bills thing. Like, part of the way the Bills beat the Ravens was they just kind of told Allen, like, all right, we're going to run the shit out of you in the second half because they're just not going to have an answer for you. And you got Patrick Queen chasing him down on that little rollout on that fourth down play. You've got him just running it up the middle on when they would spread the field out and he would just have wide open field in front of him. I'm a little bit worried about that as well. I feel like maybe if they get a little bit too sucked in on Saquon, you're going to rip off some decent sized chunk plays with Daniel Jones on the ground, who, hey, he went out there and showed that he's a tough SOB and he can take those hits, which, maybe first Duke player in history to have that reputation. But I mean, shit, man, he's getting it done on the ground really well.
He's getting it done on the ground. He is the biggest difference, I think, this year is he's hitting the open guys. Like, he's not missing as often as he used to. He's just getting done the routine plays. And it's huge for them because of Saquon, a lot of these wide receivers are getting, like, they run a ton of crossers. They're running the Greg Roman special, a lot of crossers. And if the Ravens are ready for it and you trust Marlon and you trust Marcus and you trust these safeties, as long as you contain their run game, you aren't scared about getting beat by the pass. And guess what? If they're running on you in the fourth quarter while you're up by 15 points, and we'll get to the Ravens offense in a second, but you're up by 2 touchdowns, a field goal, 3 whatever, you're fine with them running down the clock as if your offense is performing well.
Yeah, I think maybe you're looking at that. You're looking at maybe a Kyle Hamilton on, I think Daniel Bellinger is their tight end, who's had a pretty decent start to the season. Maybe take him away a little bit, get some Geno Stone looks up top to kind of play that Marcus Williams role a little bit. And kind of play down and try and contain Barkley and Daniel Jones in the running game. I think that is kind of the recipe here. And don't try to outdo Wink here, Mike. Don't like do the blitzing thing and like kind of lose your identity like you did against the Dolphins. Do the things that have been working for you.
Yeah, there's no need to get cute with it. There's no need. Just play your game. Couple single high stuff. Stick in some 2 shells to make it easy on the safety since you're without Marcus Williams for a bit. Like, ease your safeties in. And don't get beat because you're scared of Daniel Jones beating you. At the end of the day, that's all I care about. Like, on the defensive side, don't get beat because you are scared of Daniel Jones. Do not be scared of Daniel Jones. He's still not making special throws. You got to be worried about his legs, and you got to be worried about Saquon. And they use Saquon everywhere. I love the way they're using Saquon this year. Where is I had some tweets about this. Is it here? They used him on four snaps at the quarterback position, 30 snaps at halfback, 1 snap as an inline tight end, 2 as a slot wide receiver, and 5 snaps as an outside wide receiver. So they're using him everywhere, and you've got to be aware of that.
Yeah, for sure. He is a true weapon X on the offensive side of the ball right now.
Love him. And I think there's talk about like the Bills going out and getting like Christian McCaffrey. I think that's a bad move. They've got how much invested in their running back room with however many picks is this in a Bills podcast, so nobody cares. But I thought the move was going to be going after Saquon, who's going to be a free agent. They can give him whatever contract that suits him afterwards. But the Giants keep winning. I don't know if the Giants are really going to be in sell mode. So
I don't think they are. And I mean, honestly, it just becomes, what are you going to do with quarterback? Because I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy long term. So yeah,
I think they get a really good rookie. They're probably, I think they're probably going to finish middle of the pack as far as like draft pick status. I don't know if they have any like first round trades, or maybe they get like a nice high first round pick from a trade, but they'll get like a middle of the first round, and then you get a QB, and then you let him sit whole year, half the year's rookie years, and keep using Daniel Jones. Let him, like, what is this, his 5th year?
I think this is his 4th, and they turned it down, right?
They turned it down. That kind of leaves you in a maybe you can get Daniel Jones to sign like a 2-year contract to revive, and then you can with like an out in the 2nd year and
trade one of these offensive players that you're not using, and maybe pick up a 2nd-round pick, package that for a first, or move up or something, and go get that Bryce Young kid who
there's a lot of quarterbacks coming out in this draft.
Yeah,
that are fun to be excited about.
Yeah, for sure.
But we digress.
We do. On the offensive side of the ball for the Ravens, where do you think they are in DVOA right now?
Total DVOA, I'm going to go somewhere in the 10 to 15 range.
They're second.
They're second?
They're
two. I knew Greg Roman was in his freaking Duffy this year. I didn't know that he had the Balenciaga duffel bag ready to go on the private jet.
Like, he's got the clout pack on, like he's stunting. So they're second in pass DVOA. They're 13th in rush DVOA, which seems to have been improving from where they were at. I mean, they were in a brutal spot with it early in the season, but they're second. Who is first, and who do you think who's first in offensive DVOA total?
I feel like, is it the Eagles? They've been no.
I'll give you a hint. Their quarterback didn't write back.
Freaking Geno Stone is, or not Geno Stone, Geno Smith. Sorry. Oh my God, Seattle? Is it really Seattle?
Yeah, they're first in pass and 12th in rush. But yeah, it's Ravens at 2. You got Kansas.
I just picked up Geno Stone in fantasy. Geno Smith in fantasy.
Yeah, I gotta get a new quarterback. Mariota's not getting it done. I got fucking Dak sitting on my bench, but that's another digression. But yeah, I mean, Ravens looking pretty damn good on offense at certain points throughout the season. They've looked pretty damn just get it done the last couple games. And shit, man, they got it done when they needed to. This running game, I think, is kind of all the way back at this point. And they've just added Stanley into the mix. That really helps. Dobbins is back in the mix. That really helps. Seems like they're getting it done. They're going back to that counter bash at certain points. I mean, they win the game essentially on that. Talk about Greg Roman being in this Duffy. That felt like a little counter bash situation where they pulled, I think, Powers going to the right side, get Lamar out into space, and he just kind of does the rest, and that gets him into field goal range. It's been fun to watch this running game the last couple of weeks after a lot of consternation the first few.
I have yet to think that Greg Roman's really made any mistakes. So not any mistakes, but he's pretty much been right on every game. The 2 low-scoring games we've had here with the Bills and with the Bengals, I'm not putting on Greg Roman because a lot of guys are getting open. Lamar's had chances. Lamar has been the one that seems to be off-centered. And again, nobody likes it when we criticize Lamar because he gets criticized by everybody else. But we have to be honest. He's just looked a little tilted so far. Like, he just has not been Lamar Jackson. And he, like, to give him all the credit in the world, he was Lamar Jackson on that Bengals drive when they needed him to. But they shouldn't have needed him to. There's been a lot made about his overthrows, and I
mentioned in the game, I tweeted in the stadium that he could use a big dick drive from like the 2-yard line. God damn, they almost scored a touchdown from the 2-yard line. I mean, they went down there, they went out and did the go for 2 thing, but then they just they didn't like the look, so they took the 5 yards and keep the field goal. That, in my opinion, was like, it wasn't like Johnny Sins, but like that was a pretty decent drive, like
moderately sized drive.
Totally respectable. Like, I mean, it's
nobody's scoffing at that.
Yeah, nothing triumphant or big or anything in that neighborhood, but it was pretty decent. And I mean, he looked good in that second half for me, and in the first half too, until that interception. He had those overthrows and everything, just a little bit of happy feet, but overall, I think a pretty impressive performance, even if the stats didn't show it.
I think the big thing now is Lamar will usually start to get unsettled. We've seen it time and time again. He always kind of like, he starts off really strong in the first 2-3 weeks, and then we see him kind of get unsettled when he's like maybe worried that the offensive line isn't holding up. Normally, they haven't had an answer quickly to getting him to settle back down. Ronnie coming back, and I'm telling you, Ronnie looked like at an all-pro level already. When Ronnie coming back and getting more snaps every game, that's going to be what helps settle Lamar back down. This is a great game for this offense to get right back to where they were. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you got definitely got a little bit of a test on your hands with guys like Kayvon Thibodeau up there. But I mean, this Giants defense is not, and you want to talk about DVOA, I think they are either 25th right now, 24 against the pass, 21 against the rush. So pretty easy right there. So yeah, it's an interesting matchup for sure. This feels like I can't really name a ton of players on this defense right now. You've got Thibodeau, obviously.
They've got a couple of fun, like young, feisty corners that aren't like they're like it's a lot less than what Wink had to deal with down here, but they're getting the job done. Like at the end of the day, like this Giants defense isn't great, but you got to give them credit. The Giants defense has made the plays needed to win games.
For sure. I mean, they did last week against Aaron Rodgers and the boys. So yeah, and like ultimately, I think that's what it comes down to is like, what is Wink going to be doing in this one? Because I feel like there's a case to be made that everyone, and John Harbaugh chief among them, is going to think that he's going to try to do the blitz thing and go out there and just blitz the shit out of Jackson and try to like expose what has been a weakness for him at times, not as much this season, but something tells me Wink's a much smarter guy than that. And maybe he'll try to do a tendency breaker and drop some guys back, make Jackson sort of go through progressions against his own defense a little bit more and not do the quick hitters that he's been doing against the blitz that have made him so damn effective, and just try to contain him as a rusher to the extent that you can. I feel like maybe a little bit of a more reserved Wink Martindale game is maybe in the cards here.
It definitely could be. Like the Giants have been living in single high man coverage all year for the most part. Wink's thing, he likes to put one safety up top and run a ton of man coverage. I was joking with Cole on Twitter. We know that that Wink knows that we know that he knows what we know. Like we know that you know.
A little bit of a shout out to his old compatriot there.
Yeah. We know.
We think we know, and I think I know, but I think Joe is the only one who knows when that is going to happen. So look at.
Oh my God, bring him back. That's what this team needs right now.
He did a little interview with a friend of the show, Glenn.
I saw that. I haven't listened to that yet, but I did see that. I saw that on the feed.
Yeah, no, I got that out as well.
But no, like it's hard to say. But we don't know what they're gonna do, but let's just go based off of what the Giants have been doing. They've pretty much exclusively been running single high man. They've done a couple of the zero blitzes that we hated so much during Wink's tenure here. But for the most part, they've been running the cover one stuff. And so if they're going to run cover one, you're going to want to use, and let's get back to Dobbins. You're going to want to use Dobbins out of as a pass catcher. You're going to want to get him lined up in shotgun, do a ton of shotgun stuff this game, and let Dobbins leak out into the flats. Let him run some wheel routes. Let him run whatever he wants to do. Get him the ball off to the side in space with room to make plays. That's the way that you get JK back involved in this team 100%. You let him work one-on-one with whatever linebacker or safety is going to be covering him out of the backfield.
That's where I'm hoping Wink does kind of blitz, and you do kind of get JK out on those kind of little shoulder routes where he's just running basically off the shoulder of the tackle and just check it down to him, let him make a play one-on-one against the guy, because goddamn, the guy breaks tackles. Like that run he had last week that basically ignited the run game, where he just gets stoned behind the line of scrimmage, stands himself back up, and then runs for a first down amidst all this traffic, just working his way through it. I mean, he's a special player, man, and getting him involved in the receiving game in a game like this would be pretty crucial, I think, for his confidence, to the conversation that we had earlier, and just for the offense as a whole.
Yep. The best thing before you do that, get the outside guys involved really early. Again, they've been playing a lot of man single high. Get those outside targets involved early. Get some seam routes up the middle with two guys. Get Andrews to run crossers, which is a great man beater. Get Robinson to run those preseason double moves. Get the old Prochet whip juke route out that everybody says that he was running too much his rookie year. Get that back out. Like, let these wide receivers go out and run some crisp routes and make some plays. Like, I charted what Prochet and Wallace did during on Sunday. I didn't get everything, but I think I only missed one or two for each, but I had 16 plays for Prochet, 11 for Wallace. A couple plays were like penalties, run blocking, blah, blah. Of the 11 routes that Prochet ran, 7 of them he got open and had legitimate separation. He only got 2 targets. The first one was a pretty bad throw from Lamar. The second one was a catch. He fought for 3-4 extra yards. Wallace was open for 4 out of his 6 routes getting separation. He had one catch that was just short of a first down on like 3rd and 10. And then he obviously had like the really bad overthrow from Lamar. But these guys, like, they're not getting targeted, but they're getting open. Get them involved in this game. Force Wink to have to look at other guys besides JK and Andrews and Duke. Like, these guys are getting open. Make sure Lamar is looking their way and hitting them.
Yep. And when all else fails and you need a bucket, throw it to Mark Andrews and he'll get you a bucket.
He should get, again, provided Wink continues to do what he's been doing, which he probably won't. But Mark should feast in this game. And then overall, this offense should be able to move the ball at will. That's why I'm so adamant, like, for this game. Like, the Ravens offense, this is a perfect get back on track game. Lamar should have free running room. I want to see a couple QB draw plays. I want to see some more of just like kind of, I was thinking Seattle, like 2019 in that rainy game where Lamar would just constantly scramble and would get 10, 15 every time. If Wink is going to run man and send guys, just scramble. Like, there's going to be so much open field for him. The offense should move at will. And if they do blitz, Lamar's been one of the best at facing the blitz this year. I think he's got like a 129 passer rating against the blitz, which leads the NFL. So they should again win by, I think 20 points is an exaggeration, but that's the talent level difference here is they should win by 20 points.
So let's get into it. What is your official prediction?
Official prediction, I think I'm going to go Daniel Jones is going to get some big runs. Saquon is going to get his. I think they probably put up at least 2 touchdowns. They probably get a field goal. I like Gano. I think he'll hit a nice spicy like 40-yard field goal at some point. We'll say Giants put up 17 points. Ravens put up 38.
Wow. Really, really laying it down there. I like it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like, I mean, in keeping with what I've been saying, I'm a little more concerned. I'm going to go Ravens win this one 24-19.
Okay.
But I'm a big weird score guy. I
like it. I like it.
Yeah, it just feels
it's got some flavor to it.
Yeah, I think I've got the Giants maybe leading this one a little bit as they go into the locker room. On the strength of kind of a lot of field goals, just sort of grinding it out. Then the Ravens have a little bit of a offensive explosion, score a go-ahead touchdown late, and lock things down. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be able to throw for it. And they get out of there with a win. Giants cover, though.
I do think we see a bit of the opposite of what we've seen so far. I think we see a slow start for the Ravens offense as opposed to some of their fast starts they've had this year. While they try to figure out what Wink does, try to like see what he's going to do. And Wink probably catches them by surprise for a little bit in the first quarter, leaking into the second. I think we see by far the biggest second half offense we've seen from the Ravens this year, though. I think that's where they put up a majority of their points and they just run away with it at the end.
Sure. Well, I guess that is that, pal. Thanks for joining me and talking this one over. Always fun getting you on the pod, and I think you really added a lot to this one. So I hope you enjoyed our time together as much as I did.
Sir, I enjoy every time I receive the bullpen call. So,
yep, you're like Diaz coming out to the trumpets and just getting it done. So very much.
That's my favorite thing on the internet still right now.
It's the best. The dude and we didn't do the recap, obviously, or I didn't at least. So the video of Tucker that, pardon my take, those guys put together with it, that was awesome.
I've watched that like 6 times this week. I think they need to give Tucker, start giving him like a closing song for game-winning kicks. I don't know if he would like that. I don't know if that would mess with his psyche, but I think feels like he's got enough mental fortitude to like handle something like that and give him something that's like, give him like something like real classical that everybody's like, oh, this is kind of lame, but it's very like Tucker, and he's sitting on the field like smiling as like O Fortuna plays or something. Do a
little good, the bad, and the ugly. Ecstasy.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Yeah, that will be tight. But
you could even do they love to do the Metallica like Enter Sandman for the beginning of the games. You could do the Metallica like what they do that.
So they do that to begin the fourth quarter. I think they might have aped that from Virginia Tech or something, but it gets people going.
And if you want to do one, do the Metallica opens up all their concerts with the Good and the Bad and the Ugly. They do like a rendition of it. You could open up with that.
Yeah.
Like the Metallica version of, if you want to keep with that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Give this man a closing song. Give him a walkout song.
Do it. Where can the people find you and your stuff, pal?
I am at perp_black_veins and read my work on Baltimore Beatdown. Read everybody's work on Baltimore Beatdown. There's been a lot of good stuff coming out this year.
Yep, you can do the same for me, and you can follow me at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE on Twitter. Follow the show at Podcast Beatdown. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back at you on Sunday with a recap of Ravens at Giants.
Yes, sir.
Arrivederci.
Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting? Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that.